Arriving in Cambridge in March 1962, I was met by Professor Alan Cottrell with the news that he had no place for me in the PhD program on metal fracture. Shock horror. I was directed upstairs to Dr. Tony Kelly, and with uncertainty I entered his office to find a smiling, courteous and welcoming academic. Indeed, that relationship lasted for 50 plus years. Tony offered me research on the strength and fracture of graphite single crystals, a material not then of interest to my parent laboratory, the Aeronautical Research Labs in Melbourne. Building on the initial studies of Earl Friis, Tony and I showed that the presence of simple symmetrical tilt boundaries is responsible for the low fracture strength of these crystals. An electron beam furnace was constructed for use with a tensile testing machine, and at temperatures above 2200 degrees centigrade, we demonstrated the fracture strength of single crystals increases with associated annihilation of twin and tilt boundaries. This deformation mechanism was demonstrated as applicable in pyrolytic graphite and later at ARL in carbon fibres. In 1964, Tony introduced me to Dr. William Watt at RAE Farnborough, who had recently pyrolysed polyacrylonitrile fibres to produce high-strength, high-modulus carbon fibres. Tony was so excited to bring some of these samples back to Cambridge for testing. Supervision with Tony was always problematic. If your appointment was signed A. Kelly, then session was formal and direct. If signed AK, you could look forward to a positive discussion. And if signed Tony, well, one had produced some valuable results. However, when seeking to understand unusual results, Tony would take his pen and say, "Well now, let's go back to first principles." That was an amazing learning experience. Let me briefly describe the amazing legacy of this work with Tony to the current Australian aircraft industry. On my return to ARL in 1965, I was given a free hand to continue research into the deformation of carbon fibres. Over the next 7 years, I led a multi-laboratory team to research carbon fibre manufacture, strength mechanisms and carbon fibre composites. In 1989, an Advanced Composite Materials Research Centre was established with industry partners, research institutes, university centres and government to research, develop, design and manufacture high-performance aircraft structures using Australian technology. Indeed, on holiday each year, Tony visited the CRC. Using the concept of demonstrated technology in the CRC, Hawker de Havilland Australia designed, built and quality assured the CFC movable trailing edges of the world's first advanced new aircraft, the super efficient Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Hawker de Havilland has contracts for 3% of the 787 structure value and contract participation in the program for the life of the 787 type, equivalent to $4 billion over 30 years. Australia now has a sustainable aircraft industry built progressively from the fundamental research on graphite crystals and composites pioneered in Tony's laboratories in Cambridge. I sincerely and emotionally honour the memory of a great material scientist, my personal friend and mentor, Tony Kelly. Thank you.